Okay, so this lady, her name's Beverly, and Beverly is from England. Now, if you just looked at her walking down the street, you'd think, yeah, she's probably a sweet, normal nurse. Maybe even a little too cheerful. But nah, don't be fooled, because behind that smile, Beverly is an absolute psychopath, and we're talking one of the most notorious killers in modern UK history. It all starts in the early 1990s. Beverly is in her early 20s, working as a nurse at Grantham and Kesteven Hospital in Lincolnshire. She's ambitious, highly competent on paper, and seemingly caring with patients and colleagues. On the surface, she fits the image of the perfect nurse, polite, attentive, friendly. But underneath, she has this obsession with power over life and death. And once she gets a taste of control, well, things go off the rails in the most horrifying way. Now, hospitals are supposed to be safe spaces, right? Places where sick people go to get better. But Beverly's ward becomes her personal playground. Kids start dying on her shift. Just random kids from newborns to toddlers. And everyone notices. I mean, seriously, how many babies can die under one nurse before people start asking questions? Other staff start whispering. Some call her the angel of death. And here's the crazy thing. No one suspected her at first. She's the nurse everyone trusts. She administers medications, monitors vitals, comforts frightened children, and yet she's secretly injecting lethal doses of insulin or potassium into their IVs. The kids crash unexpectedly. Some just stop breathing. Others have cardiac arrests. And Beverly is always right there, ready to save them, which, of course, looks heroic. But most of the time, they don't survive. Imagine being a parent in that hospital. You drop off your little kid for routine care, and the next thing you know, the nurses are telling you your baby didn't make it. And all the while, the person you trust the most is literally the one responsible. It's unthinkable. Now, the hospital starts noticing a pattern. And remember, we're talking early 90s England. Computer systems aren't sophisticated, but human eyes are sharp. They see that every time Beverly is on shift, bad things happen. Every time she isn't, the ward is relatively calm. Doctors and senior nurses start raising eyebrows. They report it to management. But Beverly, she's charming, she's convincing, and she knows how to cover her tracks. Eventually, the authorities get involved. Police start investigating the deaths on her ward, but this is tricky. A child dying in a hospital can often be explained away as illness, infection, or complications. So they need hard evidence, which means reviewing medications, patient charts, and talking to staff. And slowly, the picture becomes horrifyingly clear. Beverly's injections are linked to sudden drops in potassium and insulin levels. These are carefully chosen because in the doses she uses, they can kill a child but leave few obvious signs, at least initially. And every single time a child dies under her care, she's conveniently there, acting concerned, even heroic. It's almost like she's performing a sick version of a magic trick, controlling life and death, and enjoying every second of it. But here's where it gets really unsettling. When confronted with evidence, Beverly doesn't break down. She smiles. She explains it away. She plays the victim. She blames stress, mistakes, or hospital protocol. She even tries to charm her way out. But the police and forensic experts are meticulous. They trace the deaths to her actions, her medications, and even her access logs to the drug storage rooms. Now let's talk numbers, because this is where it really hits you. Beverley Allitt ends up being convicted of murdering 4 children and attempting to murder 9 more. That's 13 young lives in her hands, cut short by someone who should have been protecting them. 13 families forever destroyed. And all of it happening while she kept up this angelic facade, smiling and caring, hiding in plain sight. The trial is intense. Evidence is laid out meticulously, showing the pattern of deaths, the drug records, and witness statements. Colleagues testify about suspicious behaviors, Beverly being overly interested in critical cases, staying past her shift, and rushing children off the ward for treatment that never should have been done. And the court is shocked. How could someone so young, so seemingly innocent, be capable of such deliberate cruelty? The prosecution paints a picture of cold calculation. Beverly knew what she was doing. She picked her victims carefully, monitored their vital signs, administered the lethal doses, and then acted like the caring nurse. She manipulated trust to cover her crimes. The defense, on the other hand, tries to argue stress, psychological issues, even claims of a mental disorder, but the jury isn't buying it. And so, Beverley Allitt is sentenced to 13 life terms. That's the harshest penalty ever handed to a British woman at the time. She is sent to Rampton Secure Hospital, a high-security psychiatric unit, where she spends the rest of her life. And while she's behind bars, the world continues to grapple with the horror of her actions. How could a nurse, someone trusted with the most vulnerable, commit such atrocities? The media dubs her the Angel of Death, a nickname that will haunt her legacy forever. Now, let's step back and think about the psychology of this. Some experts say Beverley got a thrill from playing God, deciding who lives and who dies. Others suggest she craved attention, even infamy. She wasn't a random killer. She had patterns, rituals, and methods. She picked victims who were helpless and dependent, which maximized her control. And she did it in an environment where she could operate under the guise of authority and care. The aftermath is devastating. Families are left grieving children they trusted would survive. Hospitals are forced to overhaul procedures, medication tracking, and staff monitoring. Policies about access to high-risk drugs become stricter, and checks are put in place to prevent anything like this from happening again. Beverley's crimes changed the way pediatric wards operate in the UK forever. But what makes this story stick, what makes it so chilling, is the smile. The fact that someone could commit such heinous acts while maintaining the appearance of sweetness and competence. That duality, that ability to hide monstrous behavior behind a mask of normalcy, is what keeps people fascinated and terrified decades later. It's like she's living proof that evil can look like a smile. And it's not just the deaths. Survivors of her attempts, those 9 children who were targeted but didn't die, suffered lifelong trauma. Families live with the fear and guilt of what could have been. Nurses and doctors who worked alongside her are left questioning everything, wondering how they didn't see it sooner. The psychological ripple effect of her crimes spreads far beyond the ward. Beverley Allitt becomes a case study in criminology and psychology programs. Students analyze her methods, her personality, and her pathology. They study how she manipulated trust, how she exploited her position, and how systemic failures allowed her actions to continue undetected for so long. It's a haunting lesson in the importance of vigilance, even in places designed to be safe havens. The story also raises uncomfortable questions. How do we define evil? Can someone appear so normal, so caring, and yet commit atrocities? Beverley's crimes blur the line between trust and deception, safety and danger. And it's this tension, this eerie duality, that makes her case one of the most infamous in British criminal history. Even today, documentaries, podcasts, and YouTube channels cover her story. People are fascinated by the mix of normality and horror, the calculated cruelty hidden behind a professional uniform. The term Angel of Death has been used for other medical murderers around the world, but Beverley's story remains a chilling example of how someone can weaponize trust and authority in the most horrifying way. So, what's the takeaway here? Beyond the shock, beyond the horror, it's a reminder that evil doesn't always look like a monster in a mask. Sometimes it smiles at you while holding the power to destroy lives. Beverley Allitt's legacy is not just in the lives she ended, but in the awareness she forced the world to adopt. Vigilance, scrutiny, and the understanding that trust, while vital, can be exploited. And there you have it, Beverley Allitt, the smiling nurse who secretly killed children. A story of deception, cruelty, and chilling manipulation. A story that reminds us that sometimes the greatest threats are hidden in plain sight, wearing scrubs and a friendly smile, capable of horrors we can barely comprehend.